Okay, stop harassing the deputy mayor. Welcome to the Lancaster City Council meeting. Let's get started. City Clerk.
Council Member Authority Member Johnson.
Present.
Mann.
Present.
Smith.
Here.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Christ.
Present.
Mayor Chair Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Call to order the Housing Authority meeting. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Authority Member Harvey. Mann.
Present.
Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Christ.
Present.
Chair Zetto.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. The invocation is going to be with Joanna Giovanna? Okay. Oh, somebody else is coming? Okay. But it's from the Spiritual Assembly of Baha'i? Is that right? Thank you. In Lancaster.
O my Lord and my hope, help thou thy loved ones to be steadfast in thy mighty covenant, to remain faithful to thy manifest cause, and to carry out the commandments thou didst set down for them in thy book of splendors, that they may become banners of guidance and lamps of the company above, well springs of thine infinite wisdom, and the stars that lead aright, as they shine down from the supernal sky. Verily art thou the invincible, the almighty and powerful. Abdul Baha.
Thank you. So we have two people from which high school? Lancaster? So which one wants to lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Come on down. What's your name?
Ron McCormick, sir. All right, face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. City Manager, anything to be removed? No, sir. Successor agency actions, new business. Do we have any speaker cards?
Not on that.
You want to waive the staff report?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Move we approve SANB 1.
I second.
Move we adopt.
Adopt.
Okay, let's vote. It's unanimous? It's unanimous. Okay, NB2.
No speaker cards.
Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt SANB 2.
Second. Let's vote. Council actions. Any speaker cards for the council minutes?
Move we approve M1.
Second.
I was absent, that's why I abstained. Okay, council consent calendar. Anything to be removed?
C2, C6, C7, and I have to recuse myself on C6 and C7.
Okay, is there a motion with those three?
I'll move we adopt the consent calendar as currently comprised.
I'll second that motion.
Let's vote. Okay, C2.
Does that include CC5? Or was that CC5?
CC, that included CC5. Is there a problem?
We need to move it. Do you have to recuse yourself on
What is that?
that? CC5.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Do I have a conflict on CC5?
Was that the one? There was one you were going to recuse yourself on, and I believe it is CC5.
It is CC5.
All right, this is back up.
Thank you. So let's unwind the vote. How do we do that?
Move to reconsider.
We'll just reconsider, and we'll do another vote. And what are the ones that are we?
We will remove CC2, CC5, CC6, and CC7.
From CC7, is it because of your recusal at all, Councilman or Vice Mayor Christ?
Yes.
And recusal on yours, and then a recusal on
CC6 and 7.
CC6 and 7.
Okay, so is there a motion on CC1, CC3, CC4?
I'll make a motion
CC8.
that with all the recusals currently comprised, with removal of 2, 5, 6, and 7, that we'll adopt the consent calendar as currently comprised.
I'll second that motion.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay, let's go to CC2. I'm going to step out.
No.
Oh, CC5 I stepped out.
Michael Reese.
CC2's the...
Michael Reeves, the check registers.
Good evening. Mayor Paris, council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I have a question. Am I allowed to speak on CC 6 and 7?
You have 3 minutes.
Okay. You know, the day I was riding through town, and I noticed how beautiful the weather was, and I wondered, you know, we have a pretty good town here, a really nice town, and I don't think we really cultivated the tourism aspect of our city. And I enjoy riding down Lancaster Boulevard from downtown. It's a spacious street. And I was thinking how beautiful it would be someday, all the way from downtown to Valley Central, if you had trees and nice homes. And there's an attempt right now to build new homes off of Lancaster Boulevard before you get to Valley Central. So there is progress. But we could really make this town really more beautiful than it is, and spacious. And I think appropriating this money for roundabouts is not the way to go. We've talked about it downtown here, and we did away with it, but that's not my vision for the city. My vision for the city is a beautiful city. We have mountains. We could expand our airport. If Palmdale doesn't want to expand the regional airport over there, we could expand Fox Field. There's so much potential and beauty in this city, and I'm afraid if we put these traffic circles, it's going to destroy that chance of the beauty. I'm familiar with traffic circles. I grew up in Long Beach. It's a nightmare. I'm familiar with the traffic circle in Palmdale. It's a nightmare. And we're just setting ourselves up for a nightmare in Lancaster. I beg the council not to do this. Do not put these traffic circles. Let's think what this city could look like in 20 years and how beautiful we can make it and all the great things we can do. And let's don't, just because we get free money, put in traffic circles. Thank you.
Are we going to do them? No, we got to vote on these individually now.
Yeah, we need to take 2.
We got to take 2 now. Is there a motion on 2?
I'll move we accept CC2.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay. Now I'm going to recuse myself on 5. It's near my law office.
I need a motion and a second for CC5.
So moved.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, let's vote. Vote is 4-0 with Mayor Paris leaving the room.
Okay. The Vice Mayor has left the room on CC6 and CC7. Are there any speaker cards? There don't appear to be any. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mayor Paris,
Yes.
I actually have some questions about the traffic circle.
You do?
I do.
Is that because it ruined the beauty of Paris when they put them in, or?
Now, I'm just wondering, City Manager, was there a study done that showed us that those 2 areas were somehow accident-prone or dangerous?
Yeah, that's a good question. The answer is yes. The process is you have to go through first, apply for grant funding. In this case, this was, I believe, the Highway Safety Program. One of their criteria is to look that it will make those areas safer, in particular 15th West and Lancaster Boulevard. There are high accidents there. Once we did that, Vice Mayor Christ and I believe it was Councilwoman Johnson, we went to the Lancaster School District, because both those areas are near schools, and talked to them, got information from them, and our traffic engineers went and looked at pedestrian crossings, how many did pedestrian counts, et cetera. And one of the changes that we're going to make because of that is the sidewalks themselves will have lights in them that light up when someone walks across it. In actuality, it'll be safer for kids because now they have to cross 4 lanes, and now there'll be pedestrian islands that they'll only have to do 1 lane at a time. So the answer is yes, they will be safer, and that is part of the criteria, in particular for the grant funds that we got.
Is there any reason why we have to do both at the same time? Like, why not do one first? See how that works.
It's not a bad idea. See if we like them.
Other than, I'd have to look and see if there's a grant restriction. A lot of grants come with timelines, so we'd have to look at that. I mean, if the council would like to do one over the other, then we'd ask which one you want to do first.
Yeah. If I may speak, I live right around the corner, and just coincidental, unfortunately, so this might be helpful, but just in the last 45 days, back-to-back within 1 week, 2 accidents on that intersection. One on one corner, went through the intersection, took down an entire block wall. It's been about, that's actually, I wouldn't want to be the people that have that backyard up against that corner, because that's happened several times there. And then on the opposite corner, the very same thing, almost like 4 days later. And I'm not quite for sure why, but then again, if you look at the U.S. highway statistics, that despite what some people may think and say, that it is the most safest way to control traffic at an intersection, and it really avoids pedestrian accidents. And then the second thing is, we wouldn't have had the 2 accidents on the corner had there been roundabouts. I'm sure if we pulled up the information from the Sheriff's Department that responded to it, we would see that those accidents would have never happened had it been a roundabout. And there's just a lot of misnomer. People have these visions of historical, either experiences watching on TV and seeing Paris, or obviously the traffic circle at 47th and Palmdale Boulevard is a much different configuration and is not going to be on the same build-out as that intersection. So I can't be over emphatic about it. And I actually had both Lancaster School District trustees call me, as well as Cecil Swetland, and I met with him close to for, I don't know, an hour and a half, and we actually went through all the videos and all the statistics, and then they presented it to the teachers.
Is it the council's desire to change every intersection in the city into a traffic circle? Or what's the plan? Is it just these 2?
Well, let's be clear what we're talking about. And I know you know this. She's a lawyer in my office, and that's the kind of work we do. But when cars hit like this, people die. And the reason they die is because your neck snaps. We're just not built to have this sideways snap. When you have a roundabout, they'll hit like this, and there's no immediate loss of motion, which causes that injury to the body. That's why they're just so much safer. Now, it takes a while to get used to them. There isn't any question about that because we're not used to them, it takes a little while to do it. But what collisions you do have are very minor as far as damage to people's bodies. It doesn't kill people. Now, as to whether or not we're going to do all of them, probably not, just because we don't have enough money. But they do speed up traffic, and they're safer. It just takes a while. But I like your idea of doing one, and then let's see what people think. People don't like them.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. Can I suggest that before you as an action is to design both of them, not award construction for either. So if it pleases the council, what we can do is award the design contract for both at this meeting, and we won't give authorization to approve until we come back at next meeting and tell you what it would do to delay it.
Yeah, that's good.
So the cost that's listed is just for designing, for each of them?
Yeah, each of those is a design contract. There will be a separate, once it's designed, there'll be an RFP that goes out, construction firms will bid on it, and then it'll be before council to award both of them. But in the interim, I'd like to get the approval for the design now, condition on us coming back and tell you what delaying one or the other would do, and then we'd recommend to you which one, if you wanted to do one ahead of the other, which one you would do ahead.
Do you know how much it'll cost to build the traffic circle?
The full grants, they're about $1 million each, if I'm not mistaken, Robert, and it's about 80 to 90% grant funded. So each will cost $1 million to build, give or take. Maybe a little less, because that includes design.
But not to the city.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's 20%, 10 to 20% of that will be city funds, 80% will be through a highway safety grant.
Yeah, it's strange. Who would have thought that an intersection, at 15th and Lancaster Boulevard would have been subject historically to those? It's just, you just don't think. And then of all things, this is coming before us because it's been in the works for some time. And then just in the last 45 days to have two of them. And if you go to that intersection now, the one wall's been repaired. It's like the fourth or fifth time it's been repaired. The other one, the previous owner were so frightened because of the number of times cars have missed that intersection and had accidents that they ultimately put a block wall up to protect their house. And that's how that wall got installed, because I actually spoke to them here, I don't know, it's probably 4 or 5 years back. But it's not good. And right down the street from the school, so thank God there's been no children, or two schools. Actually, there's schools on both sides of it, so.
Deputy Zieto, I think that's a great idea, though, is possibly to start with one. We're all creatures of habit. We kind of tend to do our day normally, but something new, to get used to it, see how it goes, see how we all adapt to it, and see how well it does work. And then we would be more prone to adapt to the new one, the second one, I should say. I think that's a great idea, Deputy Mayor.
We might hate it. Who knows? I like the idea. All right, is there a motion?
I'll move to accept CC6 and CC7.
Second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Mr. Chris has returned to the meeting. JNB1. Any speaker cards?
No speaker cards.
Want to waive the staff report?
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve JNB1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Let's vote.
Two resolutions, maybe, could we make the motions for both then?
Can we do that? Allison?
Allison?
Should do that for the
Make the
record.
motions
Meeting's
for
up here,
both
Allison.
resolutions.
I'll move we adopt resolution number 14-06 and adopt resolution 14-07.
A second.
Thank you. Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to JNB2. Are there any speaker cards?
We need to do the agency.
I thought we just did them both.
Well, you have to do them separate. Yeah.
All right, is there a motion on the agency?
Is this Kitty?
I motion that we adopt Resolution SA.
Wait a minute, is this the housing?
No.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I motion that we adopt Resolution number SA 03-14 and also adopt Resolution number SA 04-14.
Second.
I thought I was not on the successor agency.
You're on the successor.
I thought that's what we had Cassandra on.
I thought that was the redevelopment agency.
So that was,
Isn't the successor agency?
that was redevelopment.
Successor.
The
This is
city,
the successor.
the city council, is the successor agency.
You're on it.
Okay, so there's a motion, there's a second.
We need to vote.
Let's vote. unanimous. You think we need some more agencies?
Yeah.
Okay, JNB 2. Michael Reeves.
You want to hear the staff report?
Oh, yeah, we got to hear the staff report first. Who's doing the staff report?
I am.
Okay.
Okay.
The Lancaster Power Authority has previously granted an option to lease to Somas FMG Lancaster Solar Crest for 2 parcels at future 25th Street East and future Avenue K12, totaling 35 acres. We've modified those on several occasions, and the developer has requested to replace the option agreement with attached form of lease with a simplified solar lease. This new lease will preserve all of the same business terms that we've previously negotiated and you have approved. It will be for a 20-year term as previously negotiated and approved. And there'll be a new memorandum of the solar lease recorded, and they also would like a recognition and attornment agreement executed by the developer, the city, and the power authority that will recognize it as the city as the master lessor of the property will recognize the sublease to Somas FMG Solar Crest and affirm the city's obligations to cooperate with their installation of a solar generating facility there and confirm ownership of the improvements. The recommended action is to authorize the city manager and myself to negotiate the final details and take all steps necessary to finalize, execute, and implement the solar lease recognition and attornment agreement, terminate the option agreement, record a memorandum of the solar lease, and terminate the solar power purchase agreement as to the Solar Crest properties.
Thank you. Mr. Reeves.
Mayor Paris, council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I've gotten up here so many times about this. I know you're tired of hearing it, but we're paying $59,000 for legal fees in the latest check registers. $59,000 for legal fees. And this, again and again, we get in these situations, and I'm not an attorney, I'm just a citizen. We got 3 attorneys here. You guys know more about this than I do. But I know that there's $59,000 being spent on legal fees. And I know that we, again and again, we get in these agreements and we modify them. I want to penalize these people when they change the agreements. I'm tired of Lancaster having to spend legal fees to change the agreements to give developers a heads up on these things. So in the future, any agreement should have some kind of stipulation that if you want to modify it, you're going to pay dearly, because the city and the citizens of Lancaster are tired of paying legal fees. Thank you.
Well, there's one consolation. We pay about 10% of what Palmdale pays. I just couldn't help that. It came out.
Move to approve JNB 2.
Second.
My wife bought me a poster. It's on my desk. It says, "Did I overshare again?" It's unanimous. Let's move on. Oh, Sandy Smith and Ron Emard are going to give us a presentation on Destination Lancaster.
Oh, golly gee.
Mayor Barrett, City Council, staff, especially staff. Well, we're happy. The last time we were in front of you, we were just getting into this. Now, Destination Lancaster's really taken off. We have some new partnerships. We're partnered with the Lancaster Chamber. We got Sandy on board. Kevin and Luis have done a wonderful job. We have 7 partner hotels, of course, the fairgrounds, and the city of Lancaster, and we're moving forward. We have many plans this year. We're bringing tourists and people into the city to enjoy our Antelope Valley and especially our boulevard. So we're really happy, but mainly happy because we have my new partner here that's doing all the work.
It seems that if you're the newest member of Destination Lancaster, you get to do the annual report. So how's that? And thank you, Ron. We have had a great year, which we've highlighted in the annual report that you each have a copy of. And I see you're perusing the report. And the primary, as you know, the primary role of Destination Lancaster is to promote local attractions, special events, and unique experiences to those living outside the Antelope Valley. We know that some of the primary drivers of visitors to the Antelope Valley are these four areas: aerospace, outdoor recreation, special events, and sports tourism. Our goal is to increase visitors in these categories through targeted marketing, promotion, and partnerships. So what did we do in 2013? We created our first visitor's guide, which highlights local restaurants, venues, special events, and other unique experiences that you can only find in the Antelope Valley. We've been distributing them at key locations and also have it available for download on our website. We continue to grow our presence online through our website, TripAdvisor, and through social media. For example, on our website, we've more than doubled the number of monthly unique visitors. The event calendar page is our most popular page that attracts thousands of visitors each month. As we begin implementing some new marketing programs, we will continue to grow the number of visitors. Last year, we also launched our first joint marketing program with the California Circuit Finals Rodeo. Destination Lancaster purchased banner ads targeting households outside of the Antelope Valley, which had a great response. During the 20-year campaign, the ads had over 1.2 million impressions, with click-through rate more than 3 times the national average for these types of campaigns. We also know that people were clicking on the ads because the number of visitors to the webpage nearly doubled for the month of October. This is a type of value that Destination Lancaster can add to the events by helping increase exposure outside the Antelope Valley and hopefully generating additional room nights for our hotels. As Ron mentioned, we spent a majority of the year setting up infrastructure necessary to grow the organization. Now that we have much of that in place, we can focus more on implementing our marketing strategy and establishing opportunities to grow tourism. For example, and I'm personally very excited about this, we are in the process of establishing a new visitor center at the Lancaster Chamber of Commerce office. This will provide a space in the heart of downtown for visitors to get information about the community, get recommendations, and purchase local items for their friends and family. We are also exploring the idea of having mobile visitor kiosks that would be strategically placed in locations throughout the city that attract visitors. We are also exploring different ways to promote Destination Lancaster and use our limited marketing budget wisely. We begin partnering with different organizations and publications so that we can leverage our marketing dollars to reach the right audience. Not only will we benefit from groups like Visit California and the WACVB that have access to tons of resources that we can utilize, but also work with them on joint marketing campaigns that would otherwise have been too expensive for our small CVB. We believe that these new relationships will begin generating positive returns in the coming year. Thank you for your time, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
No, but this is really, really nice. Very informative. Very informative, yeah. It's very nice. It's very friendly reading and beautiful pictures.
Kevin and Louise have done a great job promoting this, and now with the chamber on board, it's going to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
We're very happy with what's happening.
Yeah. Something to be very proud of.
Thank you. Yes, it's just a perfect partnership, I think, with the Chamber of Commerce. We've kind of jumped in. People naturally they go to a Chamber of Commerce when they come to a new town to see what's going on in the town, what the demographics of the town are, what the sites might be. So it was completely a natural partnership for us to be there to take those calls, and we're just so thrilled to do it and hand out all the information, and I think we've made a really big impact, and we have great partners, so we're really thrilled to be part of it.
It's wonderful.
Did you participate with Color Me Rad?
Did I personally?
Not you.
Oh, okay. Yes, why, yes, I did. I was in disguise.
Destination Lancaster.
No, I don't.
Actually, yes, we did. It was on our website. We promoted that on the website as well. As far as driving people from our website to the Color Me Rad website where they can register.
And I didn't see the Jazz Festival on here.
Well, not knowing if we were going to do it again for sure, it is, but it will be promoted, and we're starting that. We're starting a much better calendar too through the chamber, which will point out each and every one of our events. Sandy's personally handling that, by the way.
And I think the Jazz Festival official announcement is coming out very soon, Marvin, from what I understand. And speaking of calendars, the Chamber is also establishing a community calendar, so we're cross-referencing what's on Destination Lancaster, and also on our new website, there's a link under partnerships where people can go onto our site and go directly to Destination Lancaster's site.
Very, very nicely done.
Yeah, the work, let me tell you, Kelvin and again, Luis, Ron spoke briefly about the quality of the work the staff has done, and those two guys have done just an amazing job of providing the direction, and now that we've got the chamber on board, I just get a sense that, with the community calendar coming together, this is really, really going to do wonders of merging all those key elements, and I think it's just going to be a win for everybody, so very impressed.
It completes that partnership, as you're saying, Ken, to add the chamber with it, too. So, yeah, I agree.
We're glad to
Very
be
nice.
part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
The vice mayor pointed out to me that Mr. Emar used to be in charge of the Palmdale Chamber of Commerce. How did you recruit him?
You actually hired me.
I hired her.
At one time I was hired to be there.
I got fired
That's a
there,
long story.
Did we recruited you? Is that what happened?
I'm a Lancaster person now.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's good.
I'm
We get the
I'm
experts.
in favor of it.
We need the experts.
It's his next tattoo. He's going to get the city logo. So
Thank you very much.
Good job, you guys. Thanks.
Wonderful job.
Okay, NB2.
Mayor and Council, it's my honor to present you tonight with the 2013 Project of the Year Award for the American Public Works Association in honor or in support of our Lancaster Schools Solar Project. Yay! Thanks, Ken. As you know, this project was a major undertaking that could not have been completed without your leadership, and I must add, could not have even been contemplated without your leadership. This is something that has never been done. This is something that it's a one-off, and there's a lot of people to thank. But the fact of the matter is, without your courage, without your leadership, this project wouldn't even been contemplated. But I also want to thank and acknowledge some of the folks that made it happen. First and foremost is Barbara Boswell and her staff, Nicole Rizzo, who spent nearly a year and a half developing a financing model that made it possible. We also had a construction team, John Cantrell, Mark Van Gelder, and Mark Alius, who took on the task of building solar facilities on 24 different school sites. So if you can figure and try to understand the magnitude of that, 26 different PTO groups, 24 different principals, multiple school boards, multiple superintendents, janitors. You think about the people that are integrated in this process, and you can imagine dropping your kids off and see the parking lot being torn up. They did an amazing job of that coordination, and frankly, they made it look simple, but I'm sure they put a lot of work into it. This is not a project that's a one-off. It's not a one and done. We don't build it and go. We have some people that are continually doing ongoing maintenance with Tim Zonker. When an inverter's down, he's the first one to spot it. When something happens in the panel box, or when an internet connection goes down, Tim's the one to spot it, and they're continually out there working on the project. And of course, the ongoing customer service, the ongoing identification that it's generating solar energy, and those costs are there, is Trevin Barber and Kathy Wells in our office as well. But it's just been an amazing project. We have a full year's operation under our belt, so that we can kind of look back and see the savings that is a result of this. And with that, I'll introduce Heather Swan to talk about the direct benefits that the schools have received, as well as the City of Lancaster has received as well. But thank you, and you should be honored with the recommendation or the award.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. As you'll recall, I was up here not too long ago giving you a report regarding Lancaster School District specifically, and we had great news to share at that time that they had exceeded their savings analysis, or projections, I should say, and were saving approximately $375,000 in the first year. To go along with that, we have now completed the East Side School District savings, and they have also exceeded their savings projection. They came in at a total savings of $45,000 for the first year, whereas they were originally projected at $25,000. The only reason their number is not as big as Lancaster is because they have 4 sites versus 21. So in total, there's the My Lancaster number. In total, we have a fantastic number of $420,000 in savings in the first year of operation for all of those school sites. So it's very exciting that we surpassed that in on every site. As you may recall, we discussed some changes in the Edison demand charges. What you have here is what would have been your regular demand on those tariffs, and then what we were able to obtain by going solar. Unfortunately, everything is going up and becoming more expensive, but as you can see, our solar demand has gone up exponentially. Unfortunately, that did eat into savings, but going forward, we know that solar is a wise decision because we're also seeing Edison's generation rates increase.
Heather, I didn't understand that slide.
Okay.
Could you go back and explain it to me?
So what you have on your Edison bill is you have generation charges and you have demand charges. Demand is basically the charges you pay for having that energy delivered, and it's the privilege of being connected to the grid, is a way to look at it. You pay a certain amount based on your tariff. So this is what a regular demand charge would have been, the $12 or $13, and you can see over time they're slowly but surely going up. When you switch to what's called option R, which is what we're allowed to switch to when we have solar, our demand drops substantially. This is where we see a huge savings on our bill, and that adds to the $420,000 that was saved. Unfortunately, they're also going up. But if you notice, regular demand increased 15%. Over the same time period, option R increased 74% and 20%.
How do they explain that?
There is no explanation given, unfortunately. These rate increases are put through what's called a rate case with the California Public Utilities Commission, but no explanation is given as to why. We can make certain assumptions, but...
Diane Knippel's here. Where is she? Come on down. It seems to me that what Edison is doing is they're just, for whatever people are saving from solar, they're just charging more money to make up for it.
Not exactly true. I mean, as you know, our rates are negotiated every 3 years through the PUC on a general rate case. On this specific example, I'd have to do a little research for you, so it's a little bit of a surprise. I'm not quite sure why there's such a large difference in the percentage increase. Be glad to research that and get it back to you.
Yeah, I would like that. It just seems suspect. I mean...
Be glad to do that for you.
Thank you. And when you negotiate with the PUC, aren't those people from the industry that get appointed to the Public Utilities Commission?
Many times, yes.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
So people from the industry get appointed to the Public Utilities Commission, and then Edison goes and negotiates rates with them.
Yeah, not all.
Aren't you ashamed?
Not all the commissioners are that way, though. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll get an answer back for you.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Mayor, on all those type of utilities, when it comes to, our water rates that we're talking about too, and also electrical, We're always told to conserve electricity, conserve water, but then when you do, there is that finite amount of cost that all of those utilities have, and they need to recoup that. And the more we save and the more we don't use, they have to recoup it. Yeah, I mean, it's the water rates go up, the sanitation rates go up, the electrical rates go up, and that seems to be the animal.
So as you can see, and as Diane mentioned, there is a rate case that goes every 3 years to the CPUC. Unfortunately, in the two categories in which the schools would fall, they would be seeing a rate increase over those 3 years of 15.6% and 17.6%, respective of those tariffs. So moving forward, we can see that the solar decision was quite a wise decision on their part. What you have
Heather,
here...
go back to that slide. No, the other one.
This one?
Yeah. Have they changed the rates on people with solar disproportionately to the people that don't have solar?
The answer is no to that.
There you go.
It's across the board?
That's correct.
So they're not penalizing people for putting solar on the roof?
That's correct. In fact, we're hoping using incentives theoretically to try and get more solar on homes and businesses.
Okay. You've restored my faith in humankind. Thank you.
So moving forward, we have, because we do know where the rates are going with Edison because of their rate case. We can see where the rates were, where they are currently, and where they're projected to be over the next 3 years. What we can also do is understand what our solar costs are going to be in relation to that, because we have here, this is our solar rate, and we know that this is going to be our Edison rate. So the delta there is only going to grow, which will be even more savings in the future.
Call that the alligator effect.
Why?
I like that term.
Why?
Oh, the mouth of the alligator just gets bigger.
I see. Okay.
Wider as time goes by.
Okay, good. Thank you. I liked it. Yeah. It was good.
I'd be happy to answer any other questions that you might
We
have.
could do a graphic of the Southern California Edison alligator.
I think we just did.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions? Okay.
That was good.
Yes, well done.
NB3.
We have 3 speaker cards.
Okay. So, Brian Ludicky?
Mayor Paris, members of the City Council. The item that is before you here is to authorize the expenditure of funds from the Biological Impact Fee Fund for the purchase of conservation land that would be managed by Transition Habitat Conservancy. This fund was actually established back in 2005 by the city, and the attempt at that time was to find a way to mitigate the impact of incremental loss of habitat within the city of Lancaster. Our intent at that time was that we would collect that fund, we would use that as the mitigation approach, and that we would ultimately turn these funds over to some kind of joint powers authority when the West Mojave Coordinated Management Plan was adopted. But that plan was never adopted. However, the Biological Impact Fee Fund has remained in place with the city, and as time has gone by and funds have collected in there, the city has been fortunate enough to find reputable conservation organizations that we've been able to help fund acquisition of property through. Back in 2008, we ultimately acquired some 20 to 30 acres in the area of the Poppy Preserve. We worked through the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy for that one. Back just last fall, the council authorized the acquisition of 160 acres in the area northeast of Kramer Junction. That was critical habitat area for Mojave ground squirrel and desert tortoise, and also was part of a buffer area around Edwards Air Force Base. This particular site that we're asking you to consider for acquisition tonight is immediately adjacent to the Ripley State Preserve that's out on the west side of the valley. And it is an area that contains Joshua and juniper tree woodland. Our program has not only been a place where developers in our city contribute funds, but as we've noted to you in the staff report, we have also become the stewards of projects that are approved in Kern County and the Adelano area. Because there's been no effective mitigation program set up for this type of approach, those agencies have directed their developers to pay into our mitigation fund. And we are now able to use those funds to help acquire properties such as this. This is not what we originally intended, but I think that as a city we are doing the right thing with these funds. And because we were forward enough thinking to do this back in 2005, and actually on the council right now are two members that were on the Planning Commission at the time that helped move this forward, we are now able to help out and do the things that we need to do to help further conservation efforts in the Antelope Valley. So you've seen some of the pictures of what the site looks like. There are representatives here from Transition Habitat. If you would like to talk with them, find out what they do. They are not only looking in this area, they hold a large amount of acreage that they manage within other areas of the Antelope Valley, and we are suggesting that you move forward and approve the authorization of the expenditure of these funds. I'd be happy to answer any question that you may have.
Any questions?
No.
Thank you. Margaret Ryan? Good evening.
Good evening. I'm president of the Poppy Reserve Mojave Desert Interpretive Association. We are the nonprofit cooperating association for 5 state parks, and we've been serving the people of the Antelope Valley and desert habitat for over 3 decades. And we'd like to thank the City of Lancaster for considering helping to protect this important piece of the Western Antelope Valley habitat. This is a Joshua Tree California juniper woodland that's right next to Arthur B. Ripley Desert Woodland State Park. And we're very grateful that Transition Habitat is working with the City of Lancaster to protect this very important area. I have a couple of brochures. Sorry, I don't have one for everybody, but this is what we do.
Thank you. Michael Reeves?
Mayor Paris, council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. Sounds like a good idea to increase the habitat area, but I'm wondering, I have a few questions. What is the fair market value of the land? We're paying $2,700 an acre for this. Is that what is commonly paid for land out in the desert? Another thing, who owns this land? I'd like to know who owns the land and who are we buying it from? And if we want the land so badly, why do we have to use the biological impact fee? We can use eminent domain and get the land anytime we want, and probably less than $2,700 an acre. It's a good idea, but I need to get some answers to my questions before I agree to anything like this. Thank you.
You ought to be really glad I can't exercise eminent domain that way. Thank you. I have one more. Yeah. Jill Bays?
My name is Jill Bays. I'm president of Transition Habitat Conservancy. We own about 6,000 acres in the West Mojave Desert. We own 2,000 acres of land in the immediate vicinity, including 282 acres adjacent to Ripley's that we closed on last month. We have raised and spent over $6 million in the last 13 months in the Antelope Valley on conservation in this immediate area. And this is a project we've been working on for about 7 years in collaboration with LA County, the state parks, Kern County, the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and we've been able to get a lot of mitigation and grant funding directed to this area because of its very high conservation values. Our ultimate goal is to connect the Poppy Reserve State Park to Ripley's Woodland State Park, LA County's Wildlife Sanctuary to the U.S. Forest Service lands in the south. It's about a 6,000-acre total conservation area, to try to do this very strategically so that we don't end up with postage stamp mitigation parcels here, there, and everywhere that don't benefit the species. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your consideration.
And in about 10 seconds, you're going to have 6,040 acres.
Yay!
Mr. Mayor, could I add something on that? Sure. Ken and I were on the Planning Commission back then. This was actually a pet project of mine that I started. And the reason why, it was a win-win situation. We had developers trying to get land developed, but at the time the city had created the Prime Desert Woodlands, which was about 102-point-something acres, and that was supposed to be the mitigation for the destruction of any habitat on any future development. And it was being found by the Fish and Wildlife and the Fish and Game from the state of California that that wasn't enough. So we started this mitigation fee mostly because you can't just take a Joshua tree and uproot it and plant it because there's not enough habitat for the animals. You need at least 80 acres of habitat. So this was the win-win because it made Fish and Game happy because we were buying property in perpetuity to expand the habitat, and the developers could actually develop the land. So it's to answer Michael Reeves' questions in any way, that's why we did it.
Right.
And so the developers were happy to pay the fee because they were able to develop, and Fish and Game was happy because we're buying large acres of property to be able to expand it, which the Prime Desert Woodlands didn't.
And beautiful stands.
Right, like
just,
Ripley. Ripley
yeah,
is fantastic.
Right, not just, and again, we go back and look at these banners over here. That's how you get those banners, is when you work something out where the state is happy, the developers are happy.
The environmentalists are happy.
We're just happy.
And everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
So can the dirt bikes ride on the, I guess not. Never mind.
No.
Heck no.
Okay.
That's BLM.
Is there a motion?
I'll move we adopt resolution number 14-08.
Second.
Let's vote. Unanimous. 6,040. Okay, no action on the Housing Authority, no action on the Finance Authority, no action, no announcements from the city manager. Oh, do you have any announcements from the city manager?
I just have one video.
I can't wait.
I know. It's about Color Me Rad, which I have to say, I say here, it was one of the most fun events I'd ever been to. On the video, I say funnest, and I now know that's not a word. But it was really well done. There was 5,000 people there. People were having a great time, and there was a lot of family, and it was just a lot of spirits. I think the Marco and Sandra Johnson Foundation, the City of Lancaster, Kelvin led it up for us, and everyone, and we have a little video to show you.
Welcome to the first annual Marco and Sandra Johnson Color Me Rad 5K run. This has been phenomenally fun. This has probably been the funnest crowd we have ever had for a city event. We hear what you want. We hear what you need. And this is what we'll do.
You know, it takes a village to make magic happen.
Once again, I'll echo Sandra's sentiments. This is an amazing opportunity for our community to
come together. The City of Lancaster has supported us from day one, and this has been an absolutely amazing opportunity for us to come together as a community. It's great that the Antelope Valley can come together and make things happen. 'You'll see more of this in the continuing years. Thanks again.
5 years of trying to convince the world we're not a bunch of nuts. And you flush it in one day.
You should have seen the outtakes in the making of this video. The outtakes are a lot better.
Thank you.
Can I add to that too, if I may, Mayor?
Of course.
Thanks, Mark, for bringing it up, and everyone who put that video together. It really was a great day, as you could tell by our energy when we were talking. We were all so energetic, and it was just such a proud day to see 5,000 runners, and that's not counting the guests and the families that were there. So there was more than 5,000 people there that day. There was nothing but positive energy, families. You saw kids from strollers to senior citizens, outfits. I mean, you saw some Buzz Lightyear, some kids. There was a gentleman wearing a cow outfit. It was just, but it was an amazing day for us to be proud of Antelope Valley, to be proud of being family, to be proud of just having fun and just letting everything else go. And we're so excited that we'll be able to partner up again and be able to do this annually. So we're looking forward to it. So again, Kelvin, great job. Thank you very much. And to the sponsors also that were a big part of that too. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I know Ken Mann's wife ran it. She did amazing.
And we bombed her. It was good.
We did. We did bomb her. Yeah.
I have videos of the councilwoman running.
Yes.
She ran 3 telephone poles.
But honestly, speaking of running, this is a great example of us promoting health. You know, I mean, you could see the community getting ready for the 5K. You saw people jogging in our community. You saw them preparing. And so we really, you know, this is a great way to also promote good health in our community and having fun at the same time.
Well, you can't pick your family and you can't pick your council.
Rex, you would have loved it.
Yeah, that's just what I'm going to do, is run down and let people throw things at me. Okay. I guess we go to the speaker cards before we go. Yeah, okay. City Clerk.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for you to address the City Council on any items that are not on the agenda. You'll find speaker cards at the back of the council chambers. We ask that you fill them out completely and print as clearly as possible so that if the City Council, the City Manager, and staff need to get in touch with you, they will have your information. As much as we appreciate your request to make comments before your 3 minutes begin, please understand your time begins when your name is announced. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. When you approach the podium, you'll see 3 lights. The green light comes on when your time begins, the yellow light comes on when you have 30 seconds remaining, and the red light comes on when your time is up. We ask that you be courteous of the allotted time to allow other speakers to have their 3 minutes as well. Following this procedure will allow for a smooth and timely process for the meeting. State law prohibits the City Council from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to the City Manager. Thank you.
Thank you. David Paul.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, good evening. That was a wonderful video, very uplifting. Thank you for that. I came tonight to talk about a man who always restored my faith in humanity, my friend Gary Burgess. He passed away Saturday night, and I just wanted to share a couple things with you. Gary was a remarkable man. He was certainly old school. He loved his family, his friends, and his country with a dedication and commitment you just don't find much anymore. And he inspired me. And he was always thinking about, if he wasn't doing something, about making his community a better place. And it was my honor to know him. Gary helped me out just a few weeks ago. He came to my house. I was in a pinch. I needed some solid gold signatures on a paper, and he came over to sign it. And there on my kitchen table, when he sat down, were a couple of books. Gary and I shared a love of books. And we were frequent shoppers at the Friends of the Library, at the Lancaster Library used bookstore. And when he saw the book laying on my kitchen table, he said, "Did you get that at the library? I didn't see that book." And I told him, "Gary, they just put it out. Snooze, you lose." And then we talked about who had the most books, and it was just a lot of fun. But I never minded if Gary got books that I didn't, because what he intended to do with those books, he liked to have the books that celebrated the aerospace industry in the Antelope Valley, and he wanted to preserve them for posterity, bequeath them to a museum or a library that would cherish them the way he did and carry on the knowledge of the traditions that made our valley great. And looking back, I wished I'd given him that book. But there's many stories I could tell. I just am amazed at the amount of love that this man had for his wife. And I have never seen such love and commitment outside of my grandparents, who I thought were the only people I ever knew that shared that. And I had the distinct honor to be with him Friday, the day before he passed, and watch the love between his wife Shirley and him. It's just an incredible thing. And I think that if anybody cared about Gary, please reach out to Shirley and let her know how much we all loved him. I just want to say to Gary, you will be remembered. This hall will remember your name, and I bid you good luck and see you on the other side, my friend. You will be missed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Benjamin Landaverde.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and people. My name is Benjamin Landaverde. I am currently employed with a corporate bank, which I'd rather not say the name of. I'm looking to get a zoning ordinance change on a business proposal that I'm looking to do. I am looking to leave the company whom I work for me to go wholeheartedly and begin this business. It is a controversial topic, and what it is medical cannabis dispensaries. Now, I grew up here since '95. I'm a Palmdale resident. I moved up here from Pacoima because my parents felt that this was a safer community and something of the future that we grew up in, which I believe it is, and it's still being that. As of late, I know there's been a lot of crime that went up along throughout the 2000s, and I know Mayor, and the sheriffs and Operation Safe Street has a lot to do with bringing the crime down. Now, well, I know cannabis is not an all-around perfect aspect subject, but what it could do, I believe, is reduce or eliminate, in a sense, the black market that's going on nowadays. When someone, they decriminalize in 22 states now marijuana crimes. Some people do slip through the cracks and do end up going to jail. They get around hardened criminals. They come out in the streets now with a felon record, and they turn back to the streets and do things that are not, productive or nothing that a citizen should be doing. So my case is we could help eliminate that aspect of it, as well as the regular street drug dealer who is selling not only marijuana, but along with methamphetamines and everything else that they have to offer to kids who are looking to experiment. We could standardize the whole regulation of it, because obviously in the news you see Washington is coming on board. Colorado has been since the beginning of the year. And California and a few other states are looking to come on board as well at the end of November to see what the ballots turn out. If we could be ahead of the curve, standardize basically be the benchmark on how to regulate how medical marijuana should be distributed, if we could regulate it to the point where it could be just like any other product, such as liquor, which is out in there now. And not only that, we could help people not only spend their tax money down in the valley who do use it and have medical cards to use it for their medical conditions, people with AIDS, cancer, and other people who choose to use it recreationally. So my proposal is to get this type of business going. This is one of my corporation businesses that I do plan on doing, but I do feel it's a big thing in my corporation that could help out the community, keep me here to believe my dream in the AV, because if it were to strive and become lucrative, it's not like I'm going to leave here. I want to raise my daughter here. I want to raise my family here and be something that I could take that stigma off of people's minds and let it be just like any other product, like I mentioned.
Thank you. What's the current status of that?
It's on the ballot for November, and it is not currently lawful under federal statutes as well.
So do we have any in the city?
I don't know that we do. I don't know the answer to that.
Do we have any in the valley?
When I went to city planning, I believe it was last two weeks ago, they mentioned that there isn't any, because I believe there's a zoning ordinance change that needs to be approved by the city council in order for it to be something that's legit. So if they are set up, I think they're not set up appropriately with the city.
That is correct. If they are here, it's not legal.
Well, we ought to be able to know if they are or they're not. I mean,
we know that occasionally there are people who deliver in vehicles and get either busted by the sheriff's department or get robbed.
That's out of Kern County that they deliver from.
Yeah. So they do come into the city, and if we find out that they're in neighborhoods or whatever, we enforce the law. So we have had in the past illegal operations. I think he's referring legal.
So what's the status of the initiative in November? What does that change?
The recreational use of marijuana, like it is in Colorado and Washington, soon to be.
I'm sorry, he's exactly right. It's modeled after those two states.
And what do the polls show?
I'm sorry?
What's the polling on it?
As of right now, or what happened?
As of right now,
what's... I called the CNIA, the Cannabis National Association, and they mentioned they don't really have any stats as of right now. Of course, when November rolls around is when everything comes in. And
it was, the poll I saw, it was ahead 50-something to 40-something, probably an 8 to 10 point spread.
Anybody coming out in opposition? I mean, any players?
There will. I'm not aware of any now, but I don't follow who has been opposed or supported yet.
My thinking is, I used to think it was a good idea. Quite frankly, now I don't. But I don't think that it's really my decision. I think it's the voters' decision. But if it looks like that's going to pass, I think he's right. I think we need a plan in place, and we should start planning that now. What I don't want to do is come November, us not be prepared to deal with it if it happens. I want criminal justice involved. I want the sheriff's department involved. I want a viable plan in place that's going to cause the least disruption and create the safest environment as possible if that does pass. And Brian, I would invite you to get together, the two of you to get together and work towards that if, in fact, the initiative passes. If the initiative doesn't pass, I mean, you're spinning your wheels.
I understand that.
You do not have the votes on this council.
Right.
Okay.
So is it something that would be considered, or is it something that we need to put in place and then present it like anything else, and then you guys decide on that point? Or
I just want a plan in place so that if it passes in November, we know what we're doing instead of running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So am I clear? Everybody agree?
Yes, you're clear.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks for bringing this to my attention, too.
No, thank you.
We'll put it before those two commissions.
Good. Thank you. Michael Reeves?
We could use solar to grow pot.
No, we cannot use solar to grow pot.
Mayor Paris.
I guess maybe you could.
Mayor Paris, council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. About 4 years ago, when Community Hospital moved to Palmdale, I attempted to have that converted to a VA hospital. I contacted the hospital people, and they were all for it. Their corporate office back east was all for it. I contacted Lancaster, the city of Lancaster. The redevelopment agency called me and said, we don't have the money, but we'll support you on it. I contacted the mayor of Palmdale. I never got a response. Contacted Congressman McKeon's office, never got a response. Contacted Representative McCarthy's office, and he had an intern call me from Washington. It's critical that we get a VA facility in this community, particularly in...
Wait a minute, you never called me?
I didn't contact Mayor Paris, I'm sorry. As you read in the paper this week about the Antelope Valley Hospital, they're losing $75.8 million because of charity care, bad debt, unpaid costs of public programs, and so forth. Their costs are 10% over 2012. I talked to the management at AV Hospital. They think it's a great idea. They say we have the land to do it. And, this is not something I haven't done before. When I ran for Congress in the United States, I wanted a Social Security office for my area, and we got a branch Social Security office. When I ran for State Assembly, I came up with the idea that we needed a DMV office in our area, and somebody took the ball and ran with it, and there's a DMV office in Lincoln Heights right now. This can be done. We can get a facility. It's desperate that we get a facility because the VA Greater Los Angeles healthcare system, which we're part of, stretches from Los Angeles to San Luis Obispo. And I feel sorry for the veteran that has to travel 5.5 miles to get to West LA or Sepulveda for treatment. This could be a halfway point. And this could also be part of the vision for this city, something we could be proud of. We would have I'm not talking about a hospital as big as West LA, I'm talking about a moderate facility where minor injuries, etc., could be taken care of and the veterans wouldn't have to travel 65 miles to Los Angeles. I'm asking the council at the next meeting to pass a resolution supporting the establishment of a VA facility on the grounds of AV Hospital. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maria Parson?
Oh. She just left.
Okay. Michelle Egberts?
Good evening, Mayor, city staff, and council. In October, we got the governor to sign AB 218, which is essentially ban the box for the city, including charter cities, the state, and county job applications. No longer will that box be on your application, essentially. This opens the door for all the organizations out there that deal with former offenders that have a criminal history. It delays the question and the background check and makes them more qualified for the positions. You can see by the opposition, we had some strong opposition, but we were able to prevail. With the implementation of AB 109, we have saved over $2 billion a year. I'm proposing to the city that we extend this and include the contractors that the city contracts with, as well as the private sector employers.
I'm sorry, as well as what?
The private sector employers. AB 218 only applies to city, state, and county and local agencies. I'm asking that the city considers adopting a resolution or an ordinance that would go to the private sector employers as well.
We got the authority to do that?
Yes, you do, and I haven't...
Whoa.
Sorry.
I got to ask the boss. Okay.
I'd have to look into it. I doubt it.
Yeah. I actually like the idea.
It will protect and
obviously, it's not unopposed.
and let me say this. It's been a long road for many of us who deal with the former offenders. I say thank you to the Tapestry Committee, who has that expungement application there. I'm
Well,
very-
you know, wait a minute. This is not about former offenders. This is about people who have been arrested and not convicted of anything.
No, this is arrested and convicted.
This is?
Yes,
I withdraw my
arrested,
support.
arrest or convict. Okay, and this will, I mean, if I can get very specific here, and if you'd like to discuss it or appoint someone to discuss this with me, I'd be happily able to do that, because you do have the authority as a mayor to go beyond and include the private sector employers. And essentially, it's going to protect them from frivolous lawsuits when it comes to FCRA violations and EEOC violations.
I've never seen a lawsuit that was frivolous.
No pun intended, I'm sure.
I misunderstood. I mean, I obviously think that we should know if somebody's been convicted of a crime. I do think that we should have an expungement program that actually works and puts people back into the workforce after a certain period of time has transpired. But to keep employers from knowing if they're hiring somebody who's
No,
convicted
they
makes
will
no
know
sense.
further on, Mayor.
What do you-
They will know down the line. This takes it off the front end, okay, and puts it more in the middle, all right? Do you see what I'm saying? You're banning
Explain it
the
to me.
box, essentially you're banning the
Okay,
box.
hold on. Explain it to me.
The theory is that if you on an application, correct me if I'm wrong, if you on an application check you've been convicted of a crime, you'll never get to the next step, or unlikely to get to the next step. So if you don't put that on, then you're judging someone presumably just on the application. At some point, you're going to do a background check on all of these folks. And at some point, there are certain organizations that either by policy or by law will not hire someone with a criminal background.
So I'm just trying to understand it. So on the application, you don't ask. At the time of interview, you can ask.
No,
Is that right?
no.
I'm not
Can't even do it at the interview?
There's at some point where you get to do a background check. I don't know exactly if it's at the interview or afterwards.
But before you actually hire,
Yes, you can.
You
will
can
do,
ask and
yes,
find
you
out.
will do the background check. But that's when, okay, let's say it's me, all right? You know me very well, okay? And I have a rap sheet.
yes, so I've heard.
Anyways, during that time, that rap sheet's going to come to you, all right? I apply for a city job. It comes to you, you see it, you have to give that to me along in a pre-adverse, action, okay? So then I have 5 days to dispute it. It's the dispute time. I can either dispute it or I don't. Then you have to give me an adverse letter. So there's a lot of things here that come into play. In California, as you know, as an employment lawyer, there are certain things that have to be attached with that pre-adverse letter, okay? And the two things, actually three, the three things that have to be attached to it is the Summary of Rights, the FCRA, which is a Fair Credit Report Act Summary of Rights of 2013. The second thing that has to be attached to it is the California Statement of Consumer Rights. And a third thing that has to be attached to it is the Notice Regarding Background Investigation. There's a lot of credit reporting agencies out there that are giving inaccurate information on individuals. I mean, there's a lot of Ron Smiths out there. I'd hate to see if Mr. Councilman Smith had a rap sheet because of some other Ron Smith. Do you see what I'm saying? So my suggestion is, let's come to the table. Let's talk about including it, because if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, essentially. Let's look at the private sector point, too. You're essentially protecting them.
I'd kind of like to see how it's worked with government. I mean,
Well, it goes into play July 1st.
So
The
when
compliance...
does it go into play?
July 1st.
So
And as
shouldn't
of
we wait a
January-
year and see what happens?
Pardon?
Shouldn't we wait a year and see what happens?
July 1st of this year?
We could
Wait.
well, if I can answer, we could certainly wait and give you a report on how it's done. There's going to be a lot of information out there on how it's working, so I think that is the prudent case, and it's not like we're hiring a ton of people to start with.
Why would we
ever look at this? Why are we putting more burdens on?
We're not putting anything on anything. I just said, why don't we look at it?
Oakland, the city of Oakland.
Well, I think he asked me, what I would say is there's going to be a lot of research done on this afterwards. We can certainly provide that research through HR journals and stuff to the council so they know how it's working. It's not a decision whether to do it or not, it's just someone else doing the research.
Yeah, I'm not for it or against it. I'm just saying, okay, if we're having to do it anyway on a government level, why don't we see what the result is?
It's already implemented in the state of California in numerous cities.
One of the things, though, that we should consider is, government has different types of fundings as opposed to a private company. A private company is literally out of their own pocket to be able to do background checks and things of that nature. So those are things that we'd really have to consider as those entrepreneurs, as we know some of us barely paying bills or things like that. So we have to really consider those things, too, that it doesn't jeopardize their company.
We've added enough burdens on our business owners. And this is just one more. This doesn't work for me. I would never be supporting this. I would never, ever, ever support this. I think that there has to be ramifications. If you break the law, there has to be ramifications. Your business people should know that. I'm all for them telling them the truth and exactly what took place in that. But never for this.
I do believe, though, in leaving the door open, I do believe in research. So I do also, Mayor, believe that it's something that could be done possibly later on with research. However, I also am very pro-entrepreneur and standing by business owners and making sure that it doesn't affect them in any way, whatever the outcome may be.
Exactly.
So I am for
Thank you.
that.
It doesn't have to be, it can be for...
You're over your time, okay, but thank you. I told you didn't have the votes. So.
No, I would chime in with Vice Mayor Chris too. If this is something that government does, is one thing. Government can decide what they want to do for themselves, but we butt our nose into private business enough. And
enjoying it. I'm not going to cut it off.
we don't need to tell business what to do. They can hire and fire whoever they want.
This item is not agendized for action. We can't come to a consensus tonight under the Brown Act, so it would have to come back at a later date.
Good
We're having a discussion. We're not having a vote.
I won't say nothing.
Thank you.
A year after this has been in play, I'd like a report back as to whether or not it's working, whether or not it's caused any problems, whether or not it's increased any expense. All right? I don't think we should ever be afraid of looking at what the results of something that is happening out there is. I think you're probably right. I just don't think we should make decisions without having all the information in front of us. Okay, I think that concludes the speaker cards. We're going to go into an executive session in a moment. Before we do, we will be adjourning the meeting this evening in memory of Lancaster resident Gary Burgess. Gary Burgess was a strong proponent for the betterment of Lancaster, which began with his fight to save his own neighborhood. This grew into how Lancaster deals with crime, and he was influential in the city's decision to reinstate its Neighborhood Watch program and hiring of a crime prevention officer. Gary's commitment led him to become a volunteer at the Lancaster Sheriff Station, something he urged everyone to consider. He had a healthy impatience with the system, and his focus on the neighborhood and his determination to improve it is truly worthy of recognition. His motivation was unselfish. He only cared about the betterment of the community and always wanted to be a part of the solution. In 2010, he and his wife together received the green light on 3 projects under the Lancaster Unite program. The projects included painting house numbers on curbs for public safety, hosting a neighborhood block party to strengthen relationships among neighbors, and applying signs to trash containers to remind drivers to drive safely in the Paiute neighborhood. He is survived by his wife Shirley and their 5 children, and he will be truly missed. Gary truly was a Lancaster hero in so many ways. He stood up by himself, unarmed, confronted gang members in his neighborhood and rallied the community. I'm not sure that the war on gangs would have been as successful if we hadn't had him as an example. I am really saddened to hear that he has passed. And I think, Ken, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I did. Gary and I were, my first campaign, and Gary reached out, had never known the gentleman before, and all I can say about Gary is we have more people like him as model citizens. We've already heard just a test tonight of some of the things that he's done, and he'll be missed.
He was a great individual at the sheriff's station. He rallied the troops at the sheriff's station, the volunteers over there. He did a newsletter. He did a lot for this community. And I don't think everyone always agreed with Gary, but at least he did it very respectfully, and he's a great, great man. And he will be missed.
That's for sure.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now recess to closed session for the purpose of ongoing litigation as outlined in the agenda.
For each of the items listed on the agenda.
Okay. And Michael, while we're in there, we'll talk about these attorney fees.
Okay. Whoa.
That was scary.
In closed session, the City Council discussed item number 6, Palmdale versus Lancaster, item number 11, Antelope Valley groundwater cases, as noted on the agenda, as well as 3 items of anticipated litigation. No reportable action.
Thank you very much. We are now adjourned until you took my script?
Kitty do hers first.
What?
Kitty do hers.
Oh, Kitty's does first. Okay.
The Housing Authority meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, February 25th, 2014 at 5 p.m.
The City Council meeting is adjourned in memory of Gary Burgess until Tuesday, February 25th, 2014 at 5 p.m. Carol, I'm coming home.